Hi everyone and welcome to today's information session. I am just waiting for everybody to join before I start. Okay, I think we probably have most people in the room now. So a huge warm welcome from London Business School to today's MBA information session. We are live in London, coming out to you today. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where in the world you are. Really nice to be able to connect with you on a global perspective today. So a very warm welcome. My name is Charlotte Smith and I'm the Senior Global Recruitment Manager for the Early Careers and Mid-Career Programmes at London Business School. And I am delighted to today be joined by Pat Kinnear, who is the Head of Early and Mid-Careers within the Careers Centre. So we're going to have a very special Careers edition of the MBA information session today. And I will run you through what that is going to look like. So first of all, I will provide you with some insights to London Business School as a whole school, and then we'll go through the MBA and what the flexible MBA looks like as a whole. Before diving into admissions insights, I will go through admissions insights in not too much detail because we do have an upcoming information session which is just for how to submit a strong application. So if you are considering an application for the 2021 intake, I'd recommend that you join that session as well as this one. And then I will hand over to Pat, who will give you a Career Centre overview before we dive into a Q&A, and we'll leave plenty of time for this. So you can start to send your questions through on the Q&A box. You can send any questions centred around careers from London Business School, so how we recruit, what that process looks like. Of course, Pat's going to touch on a lot of it, but if you've got any other questions, do send them through. If yours is quite specific to your case, maybe that would be better to send through to mba@london.edu. That comes through to the recruitment team and we might be able to guide you a little bit. But if you've got anything that you think would be useful for other people on the call today, then that would be great to receive your question. So let's get started by talking about you. So we know that on the call today, we'll have lots of people interested in applying for the MBA at LBS, and some for completely different reasons. So we know that probably all of you will be looking for leadership development through the MBA. You'll be looking to enhance your network and gain global perspectives. And global perspectives is so critical to LBS because we really pride ourselves on the diversity of our international network and students at London Business School. In terms of enhancing network, we have a very active alumni group at LBS. We often host events as well with alumni, so do keep your eye out for alumni panels also to hear some more perspectives from them. And then all of the things on the right that you can see on this presentation, you might be one or the other of those. So you might be looking to accelerate your career following an MBA program, so remaining in the same sector, but accelerating how you're doing within that. You might be looking for a complete career transition, perhaps through region, through sector, or through role. And you might also have entrepreneurial ambitions, and we have a fantastic Innovation and Entrepreneurship Centre at LBS also. So if you are any of those things, then we think you will probably fit in at LBS. Here we have world-class faculty. Our faculty are committed to research and therefore working on cutting-edge research that they can bring to the classroom every day at LBS to guide and support our students through their leadership. We have an outstanding peer group. So in my team in recruitment, we would not ordinarily travel to all four corners of the world to recruit our classes. At the moment, we're doing it still, but online with you today. So we are really proud of the peer group and the diversity we have, not only through nationality, but through sector and socioeconomic background even now too. We have what we think is the best location in the world, our London location, a fantastic place to live and to work and of course to study also. Not only do we have the access to London really easily, but campus really is right in the heart of London. So very easily connected to all other parts of London for our students to go and really make the most of that London network. You know, it's a great place to live, but it's also a financial and business hub of the world, and a fantastic place to study. And I think Pat will dip into a little bit how that really comes out through the recruitment processes at LBS as well. And finally, our global mindset is another thing that we're really proud of, and we are always looking for more people to come along and collaborate with us to help us to deepen that mindset. So this really just gives some background to what I said about who we are. So our faculty, we have 154 faculty members from 30 different countries. I think last I heard speaking 50 languages or something between them. 113 alumni clubs around the world. So wherever our students then go on to afterwards, generally within that city, there is a fantastic alumni community there for them. And over 44,000 alumni based in 155 different countries. At the bottom there, we can see some examples of how our MBA students can access that international part of the programme throughout the actual curriculum as well, such as through our global business experiences, which I'm going to get into a little bit later in what they look like, through international exchange with other programmes as well, through the second year of the programme, and throughout the programme through different professional and social tracks. So that's LBS as a whole, and now I really want to dive into the MBA, as that's what you are here for today. So this is our MBA 21 class, so the guys that will graduate with us next year. It's made up of around 500 students, and we'll have around the same for this year. So, 38% of those students are female, and we're always striving to increase that to a 50% ratio. 92% of the class are international, and as you will see through lots of our information, you'll be able to see that that is a pretty even split across continents as well, in terms of North and Latin America, Europe, and Asia too. An average GMAT score of 701. I will come to GMAT a little bit later when we have a look at the admissions requirements. An average age of 29 for our MBA class, which really goes hand in hand with the average years of work experience also. So with 5.5 years of work experience following graduation, it turns out at around 29 is the average age. But I will say that they are averages, and you know, we're not stuck to them, if you like. So within our MBA class, students can enter with a range of 3 to 13 years of work experience. But in the recruitment team, we are here to support you, talk about your profile with you, and whether or when we would recommend an application. So please do get in touch with us. So the MBA itself, first of all of our students who start with us in August this year will be doing that first step right now, the online preparation. So there is some pre-term work, some modules before students even start on campus for them to complete. Before leading in from September with business fundamentals. So these are all core courses that go through from the September all the way through to December of the first year. And that really is the most prescribed our MBA gets. As you know, if you've done some research on our MBA, it is incredibly flexible, and therefore business fundamentals is the most prescribed it gets, and the most that we will tell you where to be and when. And following that, you really choose where to be and when. So as we head into term 2 and 3 of the first year from the January, we call it the tailored core. And that's because students will select the core courses they want to complete across a whole range of options for them. Some of those core courses are some of our most experiential learning courses, such as the London CAP project, where students have the opportunity to do live consulting projects in London with London businesses. So options for summer, unfortunately one is not a summer break actually. Your options for summer are either an internship, or students can choose to take part in entrepreneurship summer school also. So students will select that, and of course the Career Centre, as Pat will talk to you about, support students through securing that internship for the summer break then. And year 2 then really is a blank canvas. Lots of ingredients are given to our students, and students will select what they want to do to make up their second year. The first thing that they can decide is when they want to exit the programme. So we are a full-time 2-year MBA programme, but we do have early exit points at 15 and 18 months too. The mandatory parts of second year are to complete your electives. So students will all complete 10 to 12 electives from a profile of over 80 electives. And they will also complete the global business experience, which I'll get to next. Other options are international exchange, further internships, business projects on campus, using the Entrepreneurship Centre, lots and lots of options for year 2 also. So the global business experience, it's always really important to talk about this, as lots of our students and alumni refer to it as the highlight of their programme. So I think it's key that we tell you about it now. So when you start to connect with the community, you do know what they're talking about. So this is a 1-week experience, which takes place in one of the 8 regions around the world that you can see on your screens now. You'll see that each of the regions has a theme, which is a clear fit to that region. And these are developed each year. So brand new to this year, for example, is our sustainability theme in the Nordics and Tokyo also. So each year they're developed and reviewed. And like I said, generally the whole highlight of a student opportunity. They're completely planned by our experienced team on campus. And students selected the GBE that they would like to go on and be involved in. It's a really good question to ask if you ever meet with a student or an alumni, to ask them about their GBE, where they went and what they thought of it. And I think it will come up in your application process as well. You may be asked, which GBE would you go on if you had the opportunity? So finally, it's really important to talk about our community within the MBA program, and vibrant, I think, is probably one of the best words to describe that. It definitely is vibrant, fun and playful alongside hardworking. So first of all, the theme treks. So our students will lead treks themselves, social treks. Certain clubs will lead treks, such as the Snow Club do a fantastic skiing trek. We have the Japan Club, who do a brilliant trek out to Japan, and I think that is oversubscribed every single year. I think the snow trek last year sold out in about a minute or something, so definitely very popular, as well as professional treks also. So for example, the Tech Club went over to Dublin last year for a professional trek. On-campus clubs, so I think there are over 70 on-campus clubs at the moment, again ranging from professional, social and sport clubs. For example, the female rugby club is really popular. Our Women in Business Club, I think, is one of our biggest clubs on campus, alongside the Out in Business Club also. We have a partner club, so if you are considering coming along with your partner. And then, of course, we have all of the professional clubs as well. So although I mentioned Tech Club before, that is then also really broken down, so you can go to sort of like fintech or tech consulting, to many different types of clubs. Student-led events on campus, lots of events happen each year. One I love to mention is Tattoo, which is a festival which celebrates all of the nationalities that we have on campus. So all of the students get together and perhaps through dance or food or drinks, celebrate their nationality on campus as well. And conferences. So I did mention the Women in Business Club. They do a fantastic annual conference each year in March. And some of you may have already attended that. We do often extend the invitation to applicants and prospective students as well. So hopefully you've been involved in that or know about it. And if not, we'll be able to. But there are, I think, sort of over 500 conferences based around LBS each year. So that's a lot. So I'm moving quickly, and I want to have some time to speak to you a little bit about the admissions requirements for an MBA program. So you may have listened to all of that and thought, yes, I know this is what I want. Applications open next week, so how do I apply? So I want to talk to you about that. First of all, I should talk to you about the dates for applications. So we do 4 rounds of application each year. The first deadline, first round, will be mid-September. And we will launch the full admissions calendar through an email to you next week. So you can keep your eye out for that. So we're always asked, who are you looking for at LBS? What do I need to bring, or who do I need to be? And there is no perfect mold, because that would just be too easy. We are looking for diversity, and therefore there is no mold at all. But what we for, as some of the things that I've already mentioned, are a global mindset. So even if had the opportunity to work internationally or maybe in international teams. We're looking for people with the potential and want to be able to expand on that. We're looking for collaborative people and people with leadership potential as well. So again, perhaps you haven't had the opportunity to manage people or projects, but you might have be able to show your potential of that through some of your extracurricular activity, for example, instead. So I think there are 3 key things that you can think about in your application. And this is what the application is made up of. I have put the essay questions on there. They are the same as they were for this year. So we're happy with how our questions are, and they'll be the same, so that if you are looking to start preparing your application now, you can definitely start drafting your essays. So there's an online application form, and that is the part that will open next week for all of our applicants. There are 2 professional references that we expect, 2 essays, 1 is compulsory and 1 is optional. And we also require a GMAT or GRE score. So our average GMAT score is 701, as mentioned. We review anything over 600, and I think for a competitive score, you want to be aiming over 650. But again, for your sort of personal advice, we'd be happy to talk to you about that within the recruitment team. And then, of course, the transcripts from your university. As I mentioned, we will host a session, which will be a workshop just to support you, to tell you about what we think a strong application looks like. So do keep register for that one as well. Okay, the admissions process then. So once you've put that together, you've submitted on the deadline or before the deadline, what then happens? So it's about a 10 to 12 week process altogether. The admissions committee will review all of the applications and then from that make an interview decision. Interviews are then conducted by our alumni in your home city, in most cases where possible. We, of course, this year have had to do lots of that via Zoom, so we're happy to continue to if need be. Following all of that interview feedback, there is then a second review when the application is reviewed again before making a final decision, which, like I say, comes about 10 to 12 weeks after that submission date. Okay, so hopefully that has given you lots of information about the MBA program itself and what we require if you want to submit an application. And now I am happy to hand over Pat before we head into our Q&A.
Excellent. Thank you, Charlotte. I want to just say a warm welcome from the Career Center, and that careers are long. They're not just a one-off choice. And here at LBS, we want you to get a sustainable career, one that you find is engaging, is fulfilling, and you're doing work that energizes you. And alongside the MBA, you have the opportunity to develop a set of behaviors that will help you not only in your first role post-degree, but throughout your working life. So I'm going to just take the next few minutes to talk you through a little bit about what we offer at the Career Center. Next slide, please. Thanks. So the purpose of the Career Center is to support our current students and our alumni with their career prospects. And we do that in 4 different ways. And they tie into these behaviors that we want you to develop while you're here. The first one is career insights. And that's about exploring your options and developing your awareness and your knowledge. What's happening in the labor market now? What are the different options in different sectors, different organizations? And it's about understanding how competitive that landscape is and how you can best place yourself to fit with those different opportunities. And we offer lots of career insight through different ways at the Career Center. We have an excellent blog called The Know-How, where we share case studies and stories from students and alumni. We have an Exploring In series, which is talking about different sectors and really what it takes to be successful to recruit into those sectors. And we do lots of specialized kind of one-on-one coaching and have different resources per those different sectors. So helping you to develop that awareness of what you need to know. And we really do encourage you to explore a lot of different options. The next thing we do is around your career and professional development and giving you the core career skills that you need in order to be able to be ready for recruitment. And that starts with developing your personal brand. So there's 2 parts to that. It's first being able to know to know yourself, who you are, and really be clear on what are your aspirations, what values you have, what transferable skills and strengths that you would be bringing. And then once you know that, the second part is to create a compelling professional story and be able to articulate that story. So whether that's in your written marketing material, so it could be your CV and cover letter, your LinkedIn profile, or when you meet new people, when you're introducing yourself in a networking situation or talking in an interview situation, being able to sort of tell your story, really, really important. And we'll help you develop that through a series of different workshops and resources that we have. Career coaching is another thing that we offer. This is one-to-one time that you'll get with sector advisors, with career coaches, and we also have peer leaders who are students that we hire, trained second-year MBAs mostly, who have had experience in those sectors and of course have been on the journey a little bit before you, so it can help to give your expertise in that way. And they're there to kind of help you start to develop this dynamic action plan. You can tell from some of the things that Charlotte said, there's a lot on offer here at LBS, and sometimes it can be quite overwhelming. It kind of feels like when you're in a supermarket, you see a supermarket shelf full of lots of choices and you're not quite sure which one to go for. So that's why it's really important for you to develop an action plan that is dynamic. So that means that you're evaluating your progress and you're adapting the plan as you go along. And that's where a lot of this one-to-one touch points can be really helpful for you as a sounding board. Because once you have that solid plan in place, it's going to help you to crystallize your thinking, taking that time to reflect, crystallize your thinking, and then you'll be able to choose easier between all those different options that you have. And finally, there's career and networking opportunities. And that's bringing on, giving you an access to a range of networking opportunities, but also helping you to prepare before those opportunities come on campus. And that's really just about being curious. As I said, we want you to explore, we want you to see different options that are out there. And I think it's taking step by step a chance to build your network and broaden it out a bit. It will start with the cohort that you're in, this new class of MBAs, but also the second-year MBAs and the other students on campus, as well as the staff and community, and then the wider professional community within London. We'll go on to the next slide. So let me put this into context for you in terms of the MBA timeline and how we deliver some of this to you, because it's important to understand what's going on with recruitment, so how we prepare you to be ready for that recruitment that comes along. So we start out before you even arrive doing some webinars to kind of set the scenes, get you do a little bit of that pre-work, so you'll be able to think about what you need to do to customize the career work for you, kind of where you're at, as well as getting an initial draft of your CV in an LBS format. In term one, it's all about developing career skills, and that's just sort of refreshing some of these skills. It may be a while since you have written a CV or cover letter or have been on interviews, just making sure that you're taking the time to do that research that we talked about, so you really understand the landscape and how best to create these materials that are going to show how well you fit. And as I mentioned before, that Exploring Careers in series is really, really useful to go to as many of those as you can to help you make some decisions about what's right for you. All this happens in the first term, so you're prepared in terms 2 and 3 for internship recruitment. That starts in January and goes through until the summer, and there's both structured recruitment and direct hire recruitment. And if you're interested, I'll talk a little bit more about that in the Q&A. But that all happens in that spring and summer term, as well as a series of networking events that we run, and you'll be practicing those different skills. So we'll run lots of practice sessions, such as mock interviews, to get you prepared. In the summer, it's really a great opportunity to have a summer internship to fill in some of those gaps that you've identified, the experience that you need. As I said, many opportunities will come through our job board and through your own networking that you're going to be doing on your own, depending on what it is that you're after. And that really just helps to change the story on your CV, that summer experience. That's what's so great about a 2-year MBA, is you've got that middle bit. You've got 2 years to kind of change the story of where you've come from if you're looking to make a transition. And then the second year, it's a little bit more down to you because it is a little bit more flexible. We'll be focusing on full-time recruitment and supporting you there, and that will be with continued career skills practice and also one-to-one sessions with those career coaches and sectors advisors. go on to the next slide. This just gives you an example of some of the employers that we work with. We have a wide range of employers that we have relationships with, and you'll see just some names that you recognize and maybe some that you don't as much. So whether you're interested in targeting kind of a well-known big brand structured type of program, or maybe you're interested in kind of rolling up your sleeves and doing something in a smaller or medium-sized enterprise, or starting out on your own, there's lots of opportunities here, and our employer engagement team is creating these relationships with employers all the time to bring a wide variety of things on campus. We have over 3,000 jobs that go up on our job board each year, and a variety of different on-campus events, which this year will be virtual in the autumn, but still companies coming to us because they're really interested in recruiting LBS talent. And then finally, I just want to share with you some stats from our employment report. And I would really encourage you, if you haven't already, to download the employment report, which you can from the london.edu website. And this just gives you a snapshot of last year's class of 2019. So we've just recently had 2020 graduate. We won't have the statistics from them done until the end of October, but this is our class that we have a full picture of so far. You'll see 92% of graduates had received an offer within 3 months of graduation, and pretty much the other 8% would be those kind of probably 6 to 8 months after that. But we really have a great rate of acceptance. But also, one of the stats that isn't on here is that we have a 99% reporting rate, which means that we touch base with 99% of our students. So this is a really true number, and that's a great thing to compare when you're looking at other business schools of what's the reporting rate, because sometimes we're not talking to everybody, but we try to get 99% every year if we can. 46% of graduates you'll see secured employment in the UK, and that's generally where we end up year on year. It's around the 50% mark of MBAs decide to stay in the UK. 28 graduates this year did start their own businesses, and we do have a vibrant entrepreneur program, as Charlotte mentioned, and that includes many different things. There's career coaching for entrepreneurs. There's, excuse me, a mentoring program where we have alumni mentors who come in and volunteer their time. We have 18 of those who come in to talk to students. We have a collaboration with outside organizations within London. So the Royal College of Art, Imperial College, UCL, the British Library are some of the partners that we partner with in our entrepreneur program. There's also the House, which is our incubator. So after you graduate, you can apply to be in our house if you've got a great business idea. And there's also opportunities to be in front of angel investors. So if you are a budding entrepreneur, or even if you just want to explore entrepreneurship as maybe not something right after you graduate, but in your bigger picture of your career, there's lots of opportunities here to do that, as well as the Entrepreneur Summer School, which is sometimes what people choose to do instead of an internship in the summer if they've got a business idea they want to develop further. And then finally, just interesting note that 20% of these graduates took roles in the technology sector. So we're seeing sort of an increase in technology roles, and that being an area that our students are really interested in, and that we're also promoting to the different employers who are interested in us. So that's just a general overview of what we do. Now we've got some time for questions, and hopefully you've been putting those in the chat, and Charlotte will feed me some of those, and we'll see if we can answer questions for you.
Thanks, Pat. Yeah, we've definitely got lots of questions in the chat. That's great. We're happy to take even more, careers focused questions as well. If we get time at the end, I'll get some of the admissions ones, but let's focus on making the most of Pat's time with us today and those careers ones. So some of the, I guess, go into a little bit more detail on things you've kind of mentioned there, Pat. Some questions around, actually this one's quite interesting maybe to start with. How does an exit point impact the recruitment process? So obviously we have 15, 18, 21 month exit points. So how does that make impact?
So really the great thing about the MBA, as we said, is it is customizable to what you want. And often students that I've worked with come in and they think, yes, I'd like to leave early. Often the ones who want to leave at 15 or 18 months want to leave early because they may be sponsored, or they may have other commitments. But but sometimes they want to leave early, but once they're on the MBA, they decide they want to stay the whole 21 months because of all the interesting opportunities and how much growth that they're having. So I say generally the students who I've worked with who graduate 15 months have a job offer, have through their time here either have done an off-cycle internship and that they want to hire them straight away and they don't want to wait till they graduate in the summer, or it's been people for personal reasons want to leave early, and that's fine. But generally those ones in February at the 15 months tend to be people who have secured jobs, and then in May and the 18-month exit, it's again people who have opportunities often that they want to start earlier. That have come about. So I think it's a really personal choice to you, and there is some flexibility within the program as to when you choose that exit point.
Great, thanks, Pat. Okay, a few questions from different nationalities asking about how they can remain in the UK or in Europe to work. So on the UK, I will start by just letting you all know that there is a visa change, which the government have made sort of in the last few months for graduates in the UK. So if you graduate from a degree in the UK, you can now remain in the UK for 2 years following study, and previously it was 4 months. So I think that's a good to know. But on that, Pat, a question specifically for anybody in the US who wants to remain in the UK. They were just asking about sort of the ease or what you see with that and how many.
Yep. So this is really positive legislation by the government to make it 2 years. And it's funny, I've been working with MBAs for 11 years. And when I first started, it was 2 years, and then we had different governments. It got less, and now we're back to that. I just think it gives you a little bit more time to secure a role here, if that's what your aim is. There certainly are many companies who we have relationships with who sponsor students. So you can, and you'll be aware in those Exploring Careers In sessions that we run, kind of which organizations sponsor, which don't, and that will give you a guideline there. I mean, every organization in the UK has the ability to sponsor. It's about you making the case that you're the best candidate for that role. So I think I wouldn't be put off totally by companies that say, you know, we don't sponsor students, because sometimes that can be an excuse, and sometimes kind of smaller size companies don't always have the infrastructure in place, but actually sponsoring students isn't as difficult as you think. And our visa office has some guidelines on their part of our website that talk a little bit more about how that goes about. But we certainly have had students stay from other countries, from the US or from other geographies in the UK. And I think that's, again, some of the insights we'll share with you about how they did that, and sharing some of those stories about how they did that. And some students think about running a parallel job process where they're looking in their home country and they're looking in the UK at the same time. And we've got some resources around that too. So there's definitely different options as far as sponsorship.
Great, thank you. I suppose there's one other question which links to it, and maybe we can say a little bit more, and just in general in terms of geographies, where our MBAs go. Do the majority stay in the UK or do they go elsewhere?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned before, about 50% stay in the UK and take up opportunities here. I think sometimes that's, and as you'll see, when you see the diversity of our student body, that they aren't all British. A very small portion of them are British. So 50% of students will stay here, and that's because maybe they've done an internship here, and that internship has converted into a full-time opportunity. Often people find they like living in the UK from their experience of being here, and they're seeking out to find a full-time position here. And then for the other students, the other 50%, let's say, I'd say about a third of them will go to a third country. So there will be some programs, some leadership programs that might take place in a third country. So not the country you're from, not the UK, but potentially, let's say, like in Amsterdam, or in Brussels, or in another country where they would have you on a rotational basis, and that's where that would start. And then the rest of the students might go back to their home country, thinking about going back to that home economy that they're familiar with. And I think particularly in the current economic environment, it's kind of giving yourself different options as to what would be the best for you.
Hopefully that helps everyone in terms of all of those geography questions. We had quite a lot, so hopefully that sort of well answers all of that.
Yeah, and we'll do more of that when you actually come.
Yeah.
We do have resources on how to look in different geographies that are very specific to different programs. And as I said, we really try to do a lot. Yeah, we have really active student clubs too. So we have a China club, we have a North American club, we have a Latin American club that we partner with. So as the Career Center, we also help to support them on some of the professional treks that are run. So sometimes that's with the international clubs, and sometimes that's with the professional clubs. So, we have a really, really good connection with the clubs, and we do try to help them by giving them resources and speakers who will come and connect you to other international resources.
Great, perfect, thank you. Okay, so moving away from that a little bit and more into the recruitment processes that you mentioned, so structured or direct recruitment. Could you go into a little bit more about what that means and maybe some timelines for those within the
Yeah, so structured hiring is for internships would happen in that second term. So sort of January to March is when structured hiring happens. And what structured hiring means is there's several organizations who know what the pipeline of talent is that they need ahead of time. So often you'll find organizations who are consultancies, would be an example, or banks have a program in place because they know the intake of students they want to take. And so they do it in a very structured way. So the advantages of structured hiring is it's very visible. You can see exactly what it is. They will contact you and take you through the process of what's going to happen. The downside of it is it's very competitive because it's so visible and it's so kind of laid out. It's very competitive. So you've got lots of people competing for smaller amounts of opportunities in structured. The other kind of hiring is what we call direct hiring. And that's when an organization has an opportunity, they will post that opportunity on our job board and will be, kind of as we need it. It's sort of like just in time hiring because we realize we have a need and then we're going to hire for that need. So sometimes those opportunities can come at any time, but a lot from sort of March through till July when you're looking to secure an internship. And again, sometimes these are a little bit more that you have to find these opportunities. Sometimes these opportunities come through your network rather than something that's posted. But these opportunities can be really interesting because they can be more bespoke to what you want, and also can be less competitive because not as many people know about it. But you have to hold on a little bit more on the process. So if it takes your level of comfort with ambiguity to say, I'm not going to be caught up in January and worry about it because I know the things I'm really interested aren't going to be recruiting until, late March, April, and I can kind of prepare myself for that recruitment process. So that's why it's important for you to do the research at the beginning to really understand these different sectors and how they recruit. Are they more structured? Are they more direct hire? And how can you make the best use of your time? Sometimes students say, oh, we see all these companies on campus first and not these other companies. Well, that's because that's how they recruit. They recruit in a different way. So they will be on campus. They just might be a little bit later on campus or contacting us a little bit later because that's how their recruitment cycle works.
Great, thank you, Pat. Very thorough. Okay, lots of questions then around the transition. So moving from one sector into another. And an example from somebody is that they are in the airline sector and they want to go into finance, but maybe just for any transition, you can kind of give some advice and examples of resources on campus to support that.
Yeah, so I think it really starts very much with that kind of personal brand, because how do you reshape yourself as somebody different from potentially somebody who's been in the airline industry to something different. So it's looking at what skills you already have from the experience and the work that you've done before that are transferable. And what about your strengths? What are you really good at doing? So that's why in the beginning we'll do some different self-awareness kind of work, and we've got some different exercises that we recommend for you, and a really great workshop called Build Your Career Vision that helps you to really get in touch with what are your career criteria? What do you want? And then thinking about kind of what do you have to offer an employer at this moment in time? And that helps you to identify where you might have gaps in what they're looking for. And then how are you going to fill that gap? How are you going to demonstrate that you have the skills that they're looking for. And it could be obviously some of the knowledge that you're going to get on the MBA. It could also be having some different work experiences, some projects that you do. Perhaps you're going to be maybe you're looking at fintech, so you're going to get involved in a hackathon for fintech and get that kind of experience. You're going to join some of the student clubs that are relevant to this new area that you're looking in. You're going to listen to different speakers. You're going to get some more information, so you're asking better questions when you're networking, and you're going to make connections, and you're going to find where in that world of finance do I really fit from the background that I have, and what do I need to do to get them to start to see me as someone who would be more of a finance person. So lots of opportunities to work one-on-one with coaches and sector leads to help you to do that too. But I think it's about thinking around what is it they already have, and doing a lot of research on your own. There's a lot of desk research that would come from your side to start looking at what these different roles are. It's not going to be somebody saying you should be this. It's going to be you looking at what these options are and say, what really fits with what I have to offer? What really interests me? And talking to other people who are doing the jobs that you might be interested in, and really finding out on a day-to-day basis, is that something I feel would be a good fit for me?
We touched upon yesterday in the tech event how, you know, the clubs are a great opportunity to help that transition, but also the support network within a club as well. And we have had a question about the clubs. It was how can I connect with club members? So as a prospective student, if you want to connect with our community, on our website, we actually have a page, it's called Our Community, and you can go on and see profiles of student ambassadors. So you'll find all of the MBA student ambassadors on there, as well as alumni. And for all of the ambassadors, you will be able to read about them, perhaps some of the clubs they're really involved in. And there's also an email address. So please do go and connect with them. Now is the time. So do go and make the most of that.
Absolutely. It's great to talk to people who've been, who've been involved in it and can give you firsthand experience.
Thanks, Pat. Okay, so let's dive into some sectors we've got specific questions about, maybe starting with consulting. This is consulting stats, but I don't know that you'll have all your stats in front of you. Maybe you can give some idea.
Sure.
Consulting stats for firms in the UK, so maybe just of how many remain in the UK for consulting. I'm not sure exactly which stats they're after, but
yeah, I say again, I would say have a look at our employment report, which will tell you how many people have gone into those different offices. So as far as consulting, consulting recruitment takes place from London. So even if you're looking to do consulting in a different geography, the recruitment will happen from these London-based offices. So you're in a good place to be able to engage with that process. I think it's less about an exact number and more just thinking for you about kind of what's my plan with consulting. Am I looking at MBB, so McKinsey, Bain, BCG, kind of that strategy consulting? Am I looking at other levels of consulting? Kind of when I say consulting is quite a broad stroke, where do you see yourself and where would the fit be? And then you can get a better idea. The other great resource we have once you come on campus is we have an internship directory. So you'll have a list of students from the class before you, so the 2022s, and then it goes back, I believe, 7 years of students beyond that who did internships with these different organizations, so different consultancies. So you could reach out to them to say, what was your experience like? How can I best position myself to follow in your footsteps to get an internship with that consultancy?
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, next sector that there are some questions about is private equity.
Yep.
So two sort of perspectives here. One question was, I have a private equity background. I'd like to continue in that. As you know, there are a few positions in that. So is there an advantage over taking the 15-month exit point over the 21-month exit point?
I'd say at this point in time, that's a difficult question to answer until you come in and you start to network with some of the private equity firms that you're interested in. So private equity is going to be very much based on relationship building and people that you know and people that you talk to. Although we do have private equity things, jobs that come up on our job board, it's not a structured process in the way like a consulting process would be. So it's about building out your network. And I've worked with several MBAs who have created opportunities through their network, through the internships that they've been able to secure, and then sort of decided based on that then an opportunity opened up within that firm. So it was a good idea to exit early, and if not, then you might want to stay for the whole program and then be looking for opportunities after that.
Thank you. And I think that really helps with this question as well, but just to ask it, somebody with no background in private equity but looking to transition to private equity, is it possible when it's sort of renowned to have fewer available options? So,
is it possible? Well, nothing is impossible. Nothing's impossible, but it's going to take greater effort. So I think you just need to really do some due diligence yourself before you go down that path to say, is this exactly what I want, and am I willing to put the effort in? And the best way to do that is to talk to people who are working in private equity about their experience, about your background, and where they would see the gaps for you at this point in time. You know, I've seen students who have backgrounds that would be challenging get into private equity, and I've seen students who I thought would be very easily to get in private equity not. So there's lots of factors in PE. You have to be a great networker and enjoy networking, and you have to do a lot of research into where in that private equity ecosystem you really want to be.
Thank you.
But we will help provide you with some of those resources too when you're here.
Thanks. Okay, lots of questions on tech as well. I'm not sure if everybody asking about tech managed to be a part of our tech session yesterday. We were with David Morris, who's head of tech careers in the Career Centre, as well as the tech president, Gui. So if not, we can send you the recording of that. But while we're on tech, a question about, obviously there are sort of tech hubs around Europe, such as Berlin and Amsterdam, and I think Dublin is another big one.
Yep.
Do we find that lots of our students remain in London for their tech career, or do they generally go elsewhere in Europe as well?
I think we have a mix. So the tech treks that we had last year were to Berlin, to Dublin, and to Silicon Valley, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there's lots of opportunity to explore these different regions for tech. I think it's going to again come down to what opportunities are available in those regions, kind of what preferences people have in terms of where they want to be working and their ability to be able to work in those different places. So yeah, so I think what's exciting about tech at the moment is there certainly are some opportunities that our current situation with COVID-19 has made some more opportunities, I would say, in clean tech and in health tech. We've seen a rise in some different opportunities there. So it's interesting to sort of see as things evolve, you know, how will that, you know, where will that be around the world in terms of those little pieces of tech taking off more. But certainly in London, we have the Silicon Roundabout, which has lots of interesting activities and events that you can attend outside of LBS to broaden out your tech knowledge.
Thank you. Another more specific, and I suppose a smaller percentage of this sector in the class, but for lawyers, so we often have lawyers coming into the MBA program. This is a lawyer who is currently based in India. Asking what sort of roles you see lawyers go into following the MBA, if they generally take a specific path or if it's quite varied.
It's quite varied, and we actually have a specific workshop called Transitioning from Non-Business Careers that's aimed at law, medicine, military, people who've come from public service, anything that's a little bit not traditional business kind of careers, and we find it's really interesting to kind of take some time to work on the language of how you take things that are quite technical, like legalese in this case, and kind of make them a little bit more wider business language, and being able to show those transferable skills that you have. Certainly have worked with many people from law making transitions. I'm thinking about that, some who've gone into consulting off the top of my head, and some who've gone down a kind of a more technology, kind of more startup sort of route. So I think it really varies on kind of what your interests are and what you're bringing to to the prospective employer in terms of maybe some of the kinds of cases that you worked on within your law experience.
Great, thank you, Pat. Okay, I think we've managed to get through the majority of the sort of careers focused questions. If you do still have a careers focused question that you would like to ask Pat, please do send it through now. I can see one more that we'll get to, and then maybe we'll move to some admissions ones while they start to come through. So if you've got a question maybe specifically to you, or just that you think it will provide a little bit more information on what the Careers Centre offer in terms of services to our students, then do ask that now. So Pat, a question on internships. Is it common for MBAs to do a second internship? And do the companies recruit after summer for that?
Yes, so I've seen definitely an increase of people doing more than one internship and at different times during the program. So that's what's great about having such a flexible MBA, in the sense of there are some opportunities to do smaller projects or to kind of, particularly with your second year, organize your second year in a way that you could do an internship in the autumn. Or I know of one student that ended up doing an internship while they were on exchange in another country. So I think there definitely are opportunities to do second internships. What I'd say with that is I think it's great to have more than one experience, but also on the flip side, I've had some students say, I did a second one and I wish I hadn't done a second one because it was similar to my first one and I missed out on some other things that I could have been doing, and other opportunities I could have taken advantage of as an MBA in the LBS campus. So I think you just sort of need to weigh up, how does this work experience or internship change my CV and change how I'm telling the story I want to tell.
Great, thanks, Pat. Okay, so we have got some more coming in already, of course. Okay, another one asking for stats. So for stats, I would always recommend that you go and look at the employment reports. It's the best place to find out maybe specifically what you're looking for. But maybe, Pat, you could give a bit of an idea on this. It is quite an interesting question. We shared the statistics that 92% of MBAs receive full-time job offers within 3 months. Do we know who received their top, or at least maybe top 3 choices after job offers?
Yeah, I don't have a specific stat on that. I would say the majority of students do tend to get their first choices. What's interesting is sometimes people's first choice when they first come into the program changes and shifts as they do a little bit more research, as they talk to more people working in those different organizations or those different roles. So what I would say, I'd caveat that to say what you're thinking you want to do now before you come onto the MBA may change over the 2 years that you're doing an MBA based on your experience. And sometimes you're inspired by a great course that you take and you think, wow, I didn't even realize that aspect of strategy or something is something I'm really energized by. How could I find that in a role? Or potentially you see an opportunity that comes up that wouldn't have been something that you would have taken. So I can just think of an example of one student who wanted to do PE. She came in to do PE. She wasn't successful getting a PE internship, but she ended up getting taking a VC internship, doing venture capital, and during that met some interesting people who kind of turned her on to design consulting, and then ended up really being energized by that, and then wanting to get an opportunity with IDEO, working with IDEO as a company. So original thinking was one thing, but through her experience, through her trying things out, being curious, experimenting, she found something that she felt was a better fit to kind of where she wanted to go in that next step.
Okay, good. A question here about going on exchange. So if you go on an international exchange to another business school and another geography, will that affect the full-time opportunity search if you're looking to get a job in the UK? On that, I have quite a good example that springs to mind, which was of a student who I met with early December 2019, and he had taken the 21 month, he had his sort of job lined up and secured in the UK, but was going off on exchange. I think he was going to Colombia actually for exchange in the January for a full term, because he was sort of sorted, if you like, and done. So Pat, maybe you can give your perspective on that.
Yeah, I think it's something when you come on that you'll learn a little bit more about the time frames of each individual sector recruitment in these exploring in sessions, and then the MBA program team does a really great job of kind of laying out the options with exchange, and when you have to apply, and having kind of like a first and second choice of where you might want to go. I think you certainly, so let's say that you were going for full-time consulting, and that would be recruiting in the September of your second year, and you wanted to go on an exchange that happened to end there. So often when that has happened with students, they've been able to remotely do some of the interviews, and it's just usually the final interview that they'd um, uh, have to come back for, or have to make a connection with that office, and sometimes that's done locally. But these are things that, if you're in a process, you can let the recruitment process know. But you might think, gosh, I want more time to prepare. I don't want to be away on exchange, then I want more time to prepare. So you can plan accordingly and pick. I mean, the great thing about our exchange program is we have so many different ones that, most people have a few that they might like to go on. So I would say it's not you can't go on things because of recruitment. You might want more prep time, so you're not away. That's the personal choice for you. But companies, can work around most of that.
Great, thank you. An interesting question from John here. Other than the introduction of new GBEs, how has LBS approached? Oh, it's disappeared. Approached shifting what our MBAs learn to ensure that they are, that they're still the most sort of relevant graduates, I suppose, when entering the workforce, which isn't particularly sort of careers focused. It's more LBS and what are we doing as a whole, I guess, to continuously review the program and ensure that it's updated. And I mean, one good example is that we are launching 3 new electives this year into the MBA program, all in response to COVID-19 and through, leading through a pandemic. So I guess that's an example of how we sort of react quickly to circumstances to ensure that the curriculum.
And I'd say from a career perspective, I mean, we do an employer breakfast every year where we bring in our employers and our recruiters and give them a chance to kind of network with one another, but also sort of share best practices and feedback to us, and we feedback to them. And often they give us great insights into, these are the skills that we're looking for. We can feed those into the program side, so some things might be coming through the program side. Some things might be soft skills that we can then address, if we've got more companies looking for, emotional intelligence, how would we then offer some things around emotional intelligence to help students develop that? So I think it's a constant thing about how closely connected we are with the market and what's happening from the career side, and we do keep those relationships. So we have in our employer engagement team business relationship managers who are talking with those employers who connect with us all the time, and then we've got big events each year where we're kind of trying to get that information and use that information to influence what we're going to be offering for the next year from the career side.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Okay, Pat, thank you so much for all of your insights on careers today. I think we've covered a lot of ground in just an hour and had a fantastic sort of career focus throughout today. I think we've had a lot of questions on the admissions side. One thing that I think is really important that I do just sort of get to today is about how I think there is this concern that the MBA is going to get more and more competitive in response to COVID in terms of applications. So lots of questions about deferrals, and I know each business school is looking at this differently. We have not changed our approach on deferrals. We always review it as a case-by-case situation, which we have done this year, and we have not particularly offered any more deferrals than we normally would. So I think that's a worry in some people's minds that classes for 2021 intake are full already before we've even started. So I want to make that clear that it's not the case at London Business School. And lots of questions around when should I apply, round 1 or round 2. And what is really important is that you apply when you are ready. You want to put your best foot forward always. So ensure you have the strongest application that you can have, that you've really had the time to dedicate to your application, to ensure that each aspect of it is the strongest it can be, from GMAT to your essays to all of the questions on the application form. We do review it very holistically. And so, you know, if you, for example, come through with a lower GPA or lower GMAT, you want to look to leverage that and strengthen other areas of your application, because it really is reviewed holistically. So I think that takes us to the end of today's session. So thank you again, Pat. Thank you to all of our attendees for being so engaged and asking so many fantastic questions. We look forward to seeing you all again soon, and please do come along to all of our future events and see us there also. Thanks very much. Have a good day.